Welcome to Subramani. When somebody offers you a product, do you think about the price? And if you think about the price, how do you react to it? What do you compare it to? For example, tap water is much cheaper than bottled water, right? But that's hardly a comparison, because you're standing in the middle of the road, or you're sitting in a restaurant and you're eating, and it's a restaurant where you're not sure about the quality of water. Or I know restaurants, not very high end, even low end restaurants, which just don't serve water. If you ask for water, they give you a bottle, right? So compared to the tap water, obviously it is far more expensive. Will you buy maybe 100 liters of water every day in your house for all your requirements? Will you buy bottled water and have bath in that? Will you use it for washing your face? I doubt whether you will do it, right? So compared to bottled water, compared to tap water, bottled water is expensive, but bottled water does not compete with tap water, right? That's not the market. It compares itself to soda, maybe a Pepsi, Coke, whatever. And compared to that, the cost would more or less be same, because they also have to put it in a bottle, seal it, send it across, and more or less similar kind of bottling cost. So a little bit of sugar and a little bit of some color, that's not really the cost, right? So but the cost of putting it in a bottle, packing it, sending it, making sure that the distributor stocks it, making sure that it is advertised, right? So all that, when you take it into account, yes, it is a profitable business. It is a complete rip-off compared to the tap water, but it sells. It's a big billion-dollar industry, even in poor countries like India, right? It is. So similarly, anything which is offered to you, will you be able to ask compared to what? For example, the last 3 years return in Indian equity could be maybe very high, right? Maybe it's 18, 20%, 21%, whatever. But if you take a 10-year or a 12-year return, including the COVID period, it may not be so high. Even if you take the TRI, it could be about 13, 14%. Now that's not very high compared to 18%. So is 14% low? No, I'm not even saying that. It is double of what the gilt is giving you now. Today, if you go and put money in gilt, it is 7%. But in equity, if you got 14% in a similar period, you got fantastic returns, right? Adjusted for inflation and taxes, it is 2 times the risk-free return. What more can you want? Even assuming a 10% tax and 7% inflation, you are getting real returns of at least 4%. That is huge, right? So that is good from so again, it's a perspective. If you take the 3-year return, it is much better than the 12-year return, and the 12-year return could be much better than the 20-year return. As the N keeps increasing, your rate of return is likely to fall. But again, compared to what? Compared to GSEC, compared to treasury bills, compared to savings bank account, obviously equity returns have been better, much better. Same thing you could say even about the US markets, because US interest rates used to be very low till just a couple of years back, maybe 2022, when the interest rate started going up in the US. Earlier, the interest rate was so poor that in US that you had no choice but to put money in equity. Will you get those kind of returns in equity what you got over the last 10-15 years? Honestly, the only answer most of us can give is I do not know. Because what looks very difficult sometimes is actually achieved. So we don't know what will really happen, but we know one thing: compared to what? Because if somebody came and told you that if you were to take so much insurance, let's say you're a 32-year-old guy, your wife has left her job, you got one 3-year-old kid, and your wife is pregnant, so you're going to have a second kid. At that time, somebody comes and tells you, take this term insurance policy, the premium is 2 lakhs. So the immediate reaction is to say, oh my God, it's too much. Again, the question is compared to what? Will your wife go door to door, maybe her father's door, your father's door, your brother's door, and ask for money to pay school fees and for her rations and her vacations, etc.? Do you know the cost of doing that? If you don't know, this 2 lakhs is compared to what? If you don't know to what you should be comparing, then it is not fair to say whether it is high or low. Similarly, using public transport is way cheaper than using private transport. Buying a car, paying for insurance, maybe keeping a driver and fuel, there is just no comparison to traveling only first class by local trains in a city like Mumbai, or even by metro, etc. in Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai, anywhere. There is just no comparison. But there is a huge generation today which at the starting of their career expect to use a public, don't expect to use public transport, they expect to use private transport. So for them, asking them to take up a 3 lakh rupee job like what any IT company would do is like shocking, because this kid has been brought up in a big city with rich parents who have got the kid used to having a car and driver wherever they go. So this kid does not even know that somebody can live in rupee 3 lakh income. Now cut to a kid brought up in a smaller town where his father travels around in a scooter maybe, and when that kid is told that you'll get 3 lakh salaries, like, my God, that's fantastic, right? So the question is again your perspective. What is your perspective? Is your wife going to suffer if you drop dead? Is 3 lakh a poor salary compared to what? Compared to your father who is vice president in a big company and earning 5 crores, right? Or compared to what your friends are getting because they did they got a better degree, better worked harder, right? So similarly, everything looks expensive compared to unless you know how to compare it. For example, if I told you that MBA degree in IIM Ahmedabad will cost you 35 lakhs, right, including the cost of stay, travel home, travel of your parents to see you, etc. If you add up all that, the figure comes to 35 lakhs. Is it high? Of course it's high. It's not low by any standards. It is high. But the cost of not having that MBA, let's suppose you do an MBA and you get a 35 lakh rupee starting salary. Ignoring taxes, that's a 1 year payback, right? That is how you should look at it, rather than looking at it absolutely and saying, oh my God, it is too high. If I were to do MCom in Bombay University, same 2-year course, I may end up paying 50,000 rupees as fees, and this is 35 lakhs. What is the comparison? That's not the comparison. The comparison is what is the cost of going through life without a degree like IIM Ahmedabad versus the cost of going through life with a degree like IIM Ahmedabad. Then once you start looking at it that way, then that is your perspective. So similarly, should you go to Wharton and do your MBA? Should you go to Harvard and do your MBA? Should you go to Chicago Booth, right? Check out Columbia, whatever university. Are these universities good? Right now they are marketed very well, they've got good brand names, and they're expensive. Today if you were to go, the cost of doing that MBA would be in the region of 2 to 2.5 crores, including cost of making the applications to so many people, writing writing GMAT, and all that. If you take all those costs into consideration, it would be about 2.5 crores. Is 2.5 crores too high? Again, the question is what do you do with the degree? If you take up that degree, if you get that degree and then you say, no, this is too stressful, I want to work as a school teacher in Mumbai, maybe in the slums of Govandi or Mankod or something like that, then of course there is no return on investment. Otherwise, if you take up a job in some Wall Street, or you become a lawyer after doing your MBA or anything like that, then obviously the ROI is much higher. Now the question is, what kind of a compromise do you wish to make? What kind of comparison you wish to make, right? Both these questions have to come up, and whether you can afford it at all. What if you just can't afford 35 lakhs for an IIM Ahmedabad, right? So then you say, okay, I think it is worth it, but I can't afford it, right? That's two different things. So it's about your perspective as to what you think your wife should do if you drop dead. It's your perspective to think, can I carry a water bottle and fill up water at the airport and inside the aircraft or wherever, and not buy bottled water. I want to do that to save money and to save the environment, because 70% of bottles end up in landfill and they're ruining the planet, right? So it's a question of perspective, not a question of whether you can afford it. Can I afford two samosas? Again, the perspective. What are you asking me? Are you asking me, can I afford the cash price of $100 for two samosas, or are you asking the health price of eating samosas and then having to spend 3 hours in the gym trying to work it off? So what are you comparing it to? What is the price that you are willing to pay, right? It's all a question of your perspective of how you look at any cost and any benefit. Thank you.